I am 68 years old. At this stage of life, I don't expect luxury or praise. All I ask for is basic respect. My name is Aisha Rahman, and this is the day my own family humiliated me in public, not knowing that I owned the airline they were flying. My son, Daniel, is my only child. I raised him alone after my husband passed away suddenly when Daniel was just 13. I worked long hours. I sacrificed sleep, comfort, and my youth to give him a good life. So when he called me one evening and said, "Mom, we're going to Paris for vacation. Why don't you come with us?" My heart filled with hope. He added casually, "It'll be nice for the kids to spend time with you." I didn't hear the hidden meaning at first. I just heard family. The morning of the flight, I dressed simply. No designer clothes, no flashy jewelry, just neat, comfortable clothes and a calm heart. My daughter-in-law, Nina, on the other hand, looked like she was stepping onto a fashion runway. Designer coat, sunglasses, luxury handbag. At the airport, she walked several steps ahead of me, never once checking if I was okay. When security slowed me down slightly, she whispered to my son, loud enough for me to hear, "She's always so slow. We'll miss boarding." I said nothing. When first-class boarding was announced, Daniel and Nina stepped forward confidently. I followed behind them. At the gate, the flight attendant politely asked for boarding passes. Nina glanced at mine and immediately laughed. "Oh, she's not with us," she said. "She's economy." The attendant hesitated. Daniel added with a chuckle, "My mom doesn't need first class. She's not picky." My hands trembled as I handed over my boarding pass. The attendant scanned it and froze. She looked at the screen, then at me, clearly confused. Before she could speak, Nina snapped, her voice sharp and impatient. "She's old. She'll be uncomfortable up there. Please move her to economy." People nearby started watching. A supervisor was called. Nina crossed her arms and said dramatically, "She's just our nanny. There's been a mix-up." That word, nanny, hit me harder than any slap ever could. Daniel said nothing. He just looked away. The supervisor, under pressure and clearly uncomfortable, said, "Ma'am, please step aside." And just like that, I was escorted out of first class. No one defended me. No one questioned it. What my son and daughter-in-law didn't know, what no one in that boarding area knew, was that I was the majority shareholder of that airline. 25 years earlier, after my husband died, I started a small aviation logistics company with the little money I had left. People laughed at me. A woman in aviation? A widow with no backing? But I worked harder than anyone else. Over the years, my company grew, quietly, strategically. Eventually, I became one of the founding investors of this airline. I never told my son. I wanted him to love me as his mother, not for my money. I sat in economy by the window, staring at the clouds. A flight attendant approached me carefully. "Mrs. Rahman? Are you that Mrs. Rahman?" I nodded. Her face went pale. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "We had no idea." I smiled gently and said, "It's all right. Please continue your duties." But inside me, something had shifted. After landing, just before passengers were allowed to leave, the captain's voice came over the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, before disembarking, we would like to acknowledge a very special guest on board today, Mrs. Aisha Rahman, founding investor and board chair of this airline." The cabin went silent. Then came applause. I stood up. The same supervisor who removed me from first class now looked like she might faint. Nina's face drained of color. Daniel stood frozen. I walked calmly toward them. "You called me a nanny," I said quietly to Nina. "You watched me be humiliated." Then I turned to my son, "And you laughed." Daniel's voice shook. "Mom, I didn't know—" I raised my hand. "You didn't know who I was, but you knew you were my mother." I handed him a folder. Inside were records of every mortgage payment, tuition fee, and credit card bill I had paid for him over the years. "As of today," I said, "that support ends." Nina began to cry. "This was a misunderstanding." "No," I replied calmly. "This was disrespect." I turned to the airline staff. "From today onward," I said, "any form of age-based or class-based discrimination will result in immediate termination." They nodded silently. Daniel tried to hug me. I stepped back. "I love you," I said, "but love does not mean allowing yourself to be mistreated." That day, I didn't gain power. I reclaimed my dignity. Sometimes people mistake silence for weakness. They forget that quiet people often carry the strongest foundations.